Hey everyone, it's Lindsay and welcome to the Dose of Bliss show. Today I've got a very exciting guest. He is a life coach and the author of Be the Hero of Your Life, J.Scott MacMillian. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Great. Thanks for having me, Lindsay. Thanks.
So today's topic is all about what the hero's journey is and how do we achieve that. So what is the hero's journey?
Okay, great. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this forever.
Perfect.
So there's a guy named Joseph Campbell who was a mythologist, basically came up with the idea of the hero's journey. And he was a professor mythologist probably from the 40s to the 70s or so. Excuse me. And he was reading and studying all the myths, all the great stories of the world, all the stories. And he realized there's really just one basic theme that all the stories have, all the great stories have and myths. And that is we're following the hero through their journey of the story. And typically it's focused on the hero, but at the beginning of the story, the hero doesn't know they're a hero. They're just an average person, or in mythology, it could be, whatever the beast is or whatever it is. They have to go through a journey to figure out how to become a hero. And then they slay the dragons and the beasts and whatever in mythology, and they claim the prize, and then they take the prize back home to the village. Mm-hmm. That's sort of the general idea and story. When I came across that, and a lot of filmmakers, documentary filmmakers, storytellers use the hero's journey to create a format that creates a really good story. And I was studying documentary filmmaking, and I came across that as the structure for a great documentary. And as I was reading it, there's 12 stages of the hero's journey. And as I was reading it, I thought, wow, my life is kind of like that. I've kind of gone through some of these stages, and really, I'm kind of the hero of my own life. And it dawned on me that would be a great story. And I was going through some tough times, and I was journaling, and it just sort of wrote this out. And I realized that I was the hero of my own life. And I thought, I bet this could help other people.
I would love for you to talk about the stages, and I would love to hear your story as well of how you became the hero of your own journey.
So the very first stage is what's called the ordinary world. What I'm going to do is when I talk about the hero's journey, I'll primarily be talking about story, and you can just think of it as movies. So think about your favorite movie, and this story format will follow through. So Superman, Luke Skywalker, any hero of any story follows this format. So as the movie starts or the story starts, you're in the ordinary world. This is where the hero, they're just living their life. They're just going about their ordinary stuff. They don't know anything about being a hero yet. And then the second stage is the call to adventure. Well, that means something now is either calling them, that they know there's something more out there for them, but they don't know. So they feel this calling, or calling can be some catastrophic event that happens to them that now catapults them into the unknown world, into, out of their comfort zone. So it could be, in personal life, it could be, a divorce. It could be, losing your house. It could be a really serious health problem. So when that happens to you, you're like, oh, I'm in this. How do I deal with this? I don't know how. And you've got to go through the journey to learn about it. So for me, when I work with clients, I usually say, pick a period in your life that was most significant, and we'll see if that fits sort of a hero's journey cycle. So for me, it was when I turned 40. I'd had this great charmed life, no real adversities. I hit 40 and my body just gave out. It just, all this unmanaged stress, I just got really sick. My stomach, my back, everything. And that was really the calling to my first hero's journey. I didn't know what it was. In fact, I heard a voice in the shower one day that said, you must be doing something wrong. This is no way to live life. Mm-hmm. And it just penetrated my thought, and it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, it turned out that I had to quit blaming the outside world for all my problems and start looking inside and figure out, what am I doing? How am I thinking? What's going on inside that's causing all this to happen? Mm-hmm. Well, that was about 15 years ago. I had no idea what that meant, but I started on a journey of trying to figure out what that meant. And then eventually I came across the hero's journey, and I realized, oh my gosh, that day in the shower was my call to adventure. Now, I didn't know what to do. And so the third stage is the refusal of the call. So what happens there is the hero, or my case or anyone's case, you're afraid of change. You don't want to change, right? It's the unknown. You have the fear of the unknown. We all do. And so the hero and us, we refuse the call. So for 10 years, I refused the call on and off, thinking, well, I don't really know what's going on. I don't know how to change. I don't want to change. I'm fine. And it's very typical in all of our lives, is that we're afraid of change.
And I particularly like how you said that it was a span of 10 years of time that you were denying this voice inside of your head, because I think some people think, oh, 10 years, that's too long. But you're right. When you
Right.
look at the hero's journey in these superhero movies, they go for years sometimes.
They do. And sometimes it can happen instantly. And sometimes it can, hopefully if we're kind of in tune, we can wake up earlier. In my case, no, it took me a lot. I always say that, when you refuse the call, the universe is going to knock you on your butt continually until you wake up. So if you don't answer the call, you're just going to continue to get pounded by the universe, by negative things that are saying, wake up, wake up. In my case, my body just gave out. And I thank my body now, because it's what alerted me to wake up and figure out, what my challenges were, go on my journey. So the fourth stage is meeting the mentors. So somewhere along this line, you're going to meet somebody or somebody's that's going to help you on your journey. They're either going to give you the courage or hold your hand so that you can actually cross the threshold and get into the unknown. You may just be too afraid to do it on your own, but that's okay, because we always need mentors. We need help. We need people in our lives. They're going to take us and give us some information or be there with us. In my case, it really was just devouring reading and therapy sessions and going to online platforms and so on, and I just continued to read and open my mind and expand it. So it can be as simple as that. In the movies, you have the mentors, like Dumbledore, and you've got Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you've got the classic mentors that are going to help the heroes across. And so then the fifth stage is crossing the threshold. So those first four stages are really the preparation. It's like you're in your ordinary world, you're getting prepared to have the courage and the skill, or at least face that fear to get into the unknown. Now, I'm not going to go through the rest of them, but basically now you're in the journey. You're figuring stuff out in your life. And in the movies, they're going through, they're fighting battles, some win, some lose, they gather more allies, they're just learning more, and eventually they find the prize or the treasure. Now that's stage 9. There's still 3 stages left, which is really cool about the hero's journey, is that most of us think, oh, I've got the treasure, I found the thing, it's done. No, you have to get back to the beginning, or in the movies or the myths, it's like going back to the village. You have to bring the treasure back to the people, right? In our case, it's typically we're going to bring our story back to other people and say, wow, look what happened to me. I went through this and I figured this out. Boom, maybe this can work for you. And after you come back home now with your journey, you can then become a mentor for other people, because you've gone through this cycle, this journey, you've figured some things out. One of the most significant other stages is probably stage 11 or 10 and 11, because that is it's called the resurrection. You're going to get tested one more time after you found your treasure and you're on your way home. The universe will say, do you really have it figured out? Let me just test you one more time. And something else will happen. Sometimes it can be the most challenging situation in your life, even after you think you've figured it out. And after you get through that one, you're going to have to battle through that one again. And finally, after you get through that, you're like, okay, I've got it figured out. I can now be a mentor. I can tell my story. And then we move on to our next journey. So some people's journey can be 3 months, 3 years, 1 year. Mine was a span of about 15 years, from about 40 to 55. And now I'm on into my next journey now. So there it is.
Yeah, I love how you say that, because sometimes when we can turn our experience and connect those dots, like, for example, when I was little, when kids would be mean to me, I would think, oh, I'm Cinderella and they're the evil stepsisters. This means that I'm going to overcome this and, go to the ball. And because I had that mindset, I really did overcome it. I ended up being an entertainment journalist. I really did go to the ball. But it's really a mindset. Nice. When you can put those pieces together. But I never thought I was doing that, actually, until you said that right here. And it really is connecting those dots.
Yeah, isn't that, and it's fun too, because, and I think that's why I love the hero's journey, and especially to connect it back to movies, because it's fun, and it's a fun way that you can kind of relate to what your life is like with the heroes you see on the movies. And every stage, like in my book, I go through and I talk about what the hero's journey is. I talk about a movie that depicts that particular stage, and then about what I was doing in that stage through all 12. And so by the end of it, you're getting an idea of what the hero's journey is, how it's used in movies, but how it can be used in your own life. And then with my clients, that's what I do. I help them put their life into these 12 stages. And by the end of doing that process, they really now understand themselves better than they ever have. And they realize that all this stuff that's happened in their life happened for a reason, and they had to make decisions based on those things, and it is who they are now. Now, it's not good, bad, or indifferent. It is who you are, right? But now that you know who you are, you know what you really sort of understand now what those past situations and events have meant to you. It gives you the courage now to go forward, because we still all have wishes and goals and dreams still in our life. And that's really what I do as a life coach, is try to help people get to those goals with new perspectives. So now that you know who you are, there's some tools that we can do to get you now to your goal. And so one of the things that I like to use is the idea of thoughts become things. Mm-hmm. What we think about simply is how we create our life. And it can be that simple, but you can also make it pretty complex and throw in some quantum physics in here, mm-hmm. and basically understand that your frequencies, the thoughts, the higher frequencies, the good vibe frequencies, are going to get you to that ideal life rather than the low vibrant frequencies of sadness and anger and so on. Now, we're all there. It's not that we can run away from that, but we just have to know that we've got to move out of that place to get into the higher frequencies so that the universe will align with us and go forward. And so what I like to do is I use a visualization technique where first we just use meditation, simple meditation, to calm the mind down, get into that alpha brainwave state where we can be real receptive. And then we focus on these beautiful, amazing things that we want in our future. And we focus on those things and we feel the emotions. And what's amazing is that the emotion of feeling what that feels like in sort of this future. So if it's to get the new relationship, the new job, maybe, moving somewhere to a wonderful location, maybe it's a TED Talk. That's what I'm on. I want to be a TED speaker. Mm-hmm. I want to be on stage. So I visualize every morning walking out onto the stage, having all the people, there just waiting to listen to my message, and then delivering the message and feeling the connection. And then afterwards, hearing the applause and just soaking in the emotion of that feels so amazing. That emotion that I'm feeling at the time is actually chemically excreting chemicals in my body, endorphins and so on. And that frequency, along with the physiology of the body, is connecting and creating my future. And so if the more time I spend doing that and the less time I spend about worrying about all the crazy stuff that's going on in my day, I'm going to connect that future to my real life today. So that's how I visualize and use the manifestation of bringing in my new life through visualization and meditation.
So how did you get to that point? So you said your body gave out. Can you explain what exactly happened in those moments of you discovering this technique of manifestation?
Right. Well, like I said, I was a slow learner. So it took me about 10 years to even really begin to understand some of these concepts. And as I was creating my book, and it didn't start off as a book, it started off as journaling. And then I sort of realized this, and I had been in corporate training and done a lot of writing. So it fell in, I love to create. So it fell into this book, and I realized that, I think this can help other people. And part of that was, once I got through the hero's journey part, I thought, well, what's the second half? I mean, there's got to be tools and techniques. So then it was me, I have a psychology degree. And so I just dove into all of this research and study. And I found some great mentors. I love Dr. Joe Dispenza. He's the one that I really love, his sort of visualization, techniques. And I just started playing with that over and over. So the body healing for me, in that first 10 years, I slowly healed by really just getting out of stress and
so life what happened to your body when it gave out?
So first of all, I had a kidney stone. I went into the emergency room, passed the kidney stone the next day. They fill you with drugs and everything because it's not a pleasant situation. And the next day, my stomach was really hurting, and it didn't go away for 8 months. And I couldn't figure it out. And I kept going to doctors. They couldn't find any problem with me. And then as my stomach starts to heal, my back goes out to the point I can barely walk. Again, doctors can't find anything wrong with me. The more doctors I saw, the worse I felt. And I realized that that's when I had the shower moment that said, hey, enough doctors, enough looking on the outside, go inside and see if you can figure this out. And so it was this process of 10 years of really just researching and going inside, and then coming across these tools about 4 years ago, and then really honing in them, then becoming a life coach, and then working with clients and seeing how it really helped them. If you were consistent, you had to think about this as the consistency is to, and that's the hard part. So every day you've got to do this visualization. You've got to stay in those positive frequencies more than the negative ones. That I've had bad days too, like we all do. And I just don't stay there. Now I learned a lesson, because I do think there's a lesson to be learned from pain and suffering. I don't shove it away because it'll come back stronger. I listen to it, and then I say, what's the lesson? And then I move on and I get back to my visualizations and keep moving forward.
It goes to show too how stress manifests within the body. It's like the reversal. The same thing happened to me a year ago. I had all these stomach problems for about a year. The doctors didn't know what was going on at the same moment. And, a lot of my followers that's why I do these videos. They want to know how I got better and what I did. And I keep saying, well, I took things into my own hands. I manifested, and it's crazy to see you did that too. It's like what makes you sick is almost the opposite vibration of the positive hero's journey.
Perfect.
You're almost thinking like maybe the victim's journey or some sort of negative journey that you're manifesting.
Yeah, I like that. The victim's journey. Yeah, that's not where we want to be. That's not the journey we want to be on.
Yeah, that's the next book, identifying that you're in the victim's
right.
journey and realizing that you are the hero. It's really empowering to see that you could go through a hard time in your life, and it took you 10 years to flip that around. When you were journaling, was this before you found the hero's journey? What were you journaling about?
Good question. I was journaling. So I'd gone through a lot in that first 10 years of getting divorced and having a corporate job for a long time, being laid off, starting my own business, just going through lots of changes. And so I was in the dating scene, and I had broken up this relationship, and just it really wasn't, we didn't date that long, but it was just really intense. I couldn't figure out why I was so emotionally distraught. And that's what took me on this journaling. And it just happened to be the catalyst at the right time. That person came along at the right time, where I was really receptive to figuring out what some of this was going on. And it's the first time I realized that what was triggering me was some childhood stuff that I hadn't gone back and unresolved, that got triggered, it's caught into our subconscious when we're young. And I actually do a whole section that with my clients, where we really have to go, once we get done with the hero's journey, we've got to dive into even a little deeper into these limiting beliefs, because those, I find, are the things that are really holding us back from living our greatest life. Mm-hmm. So I had to go back and look at that. And I looked at some childhood stuff, that came up with that. And as I was journaling and understanding that, and then I found the hero's journey, it just kind of locked into place that this would be a really good book. And the first part of it is go through the hero's journey, understand who you are, then go back, uncover these limiting beliefs, and then use some of the tools and techniques of manifestation and visualization to, create your life, the life you want.
So how do you feel now in comparison, now that you've gone through the hero's journey and you're on your new journey, which is being a coach, working towards having TED Talks, which I'm glad we have you here during this journey. What does it feel like now? What's the difference in vibration?
Oh, the vibration, completely different mindset. I mean, I really was in that victim journey. I really like that. I was just wallowing in it. And when I talk to people, it's like, well, what do you do? It's like, well, I'm a life coach. Well, what do you do? I help people that are stuck. And that's where I was. I had been very successful in life and had done lots of things, and then gotten to this place through that whole health crisis and everything, where I was just stuck and just not living my hero life. That's for sure. And through this process of journaling and writing and putting together the book and getting certified in life coaching, put together this life and built upon it, and then figured that out. And so interesting part was that when I finished the book and I started my life coaching, I'm like, oh, I'm done with my hero's journey, first one. Now I'm on to my second one. Well, I hadn't gotten back home yet. I hadn't gotten to stage 12. And really at that point it was, okay, now, be a successful coach, help some people, see what that is. It's like, maybe this really isn't for you. And so I had to fight through that a little bit of saying, oh, I've already arrived, when I really hadn't. Mm-hmm. And so I worked through that and started working with clients, and then I could see that success, and the book's been taking off and being successful. And so I'm like, okay, good. Now I'm finally on to my next journey, which is really embracing being a mentor and to talking to people about their own hero's journey and to do my TED Talks and so on. So yeah, the vibration is completely different. Like I said, I still have bad days like everybody does. And I continue to have coaches. I continue to go to coaching and different online groups. I watch lots of videos like yours. It's you got to keep moving forward, right? And it does feel amazing to have created that life, that knowing that I had the choice. It was up to me to do it. We all have the choice to create our own life. Some may be harder than others, but it's always up to you. The outside world isn't doing anything to you. It's you. It's actually doing it for you. And you have the choice to respond to it however you want. I'd like to respond to it in a positive going forward way rather than a stagnant, stuck way. Worked better for me. I think it'll work better for everybody.
Yeah, and I just made a video on this too. A lot of the things we're thinking that hold us back are false realities that nobody is thinking. Like, are you really thinking all these negative thoughts about other people every day? We're usually focused on our own life. Like, not one person is like looking at you being like, you didn't achieve this job, so you're a failure. They're not even thinking that. Like, what you say you are to people is really what you are. So it's like you have to just realize that these limiting beliefs are just that you've made up really, and why not make up a positive one?
And that's exactly it. You take those, find out what they are. And the thing is, you created them usually when you're a child, young, to protect you from something, from some emotion, so they were there, but then they don't really serve us as adults, and they're subconscious. So we don't know. And for me, that was the thing. I kept having sabotage in my life. I'm like, why? I've got all the skills and the tools. Why am I not being more successful or getting what I wanted? And that was it. You have to dig a little bit deep in there. And sometimes it's not fun, but it's so well worth it. Once you unearth that, realize that's false. It's not a true belief. Turn it into a powerful belief, and then visualize that beautiful behavior or emotion or whatever that's going to be, and do that consistently, and you're gonna be a happier person.
That's amazing. Well, we only have a few minutes left, so before we tell people where they can find your book and you, what my final question is what is your advice to your younger self, knowing what you know now?
Thoughts become things. And it's simple. Yeah, it's like I had no clue about that, but if my thoughts are going to stay negative, I'll be in this negative mode. Thoughts become things. And then meditation too. It's like, it took me a long time to learn meditation. I would say that too. I'll slide that in.
Yeah, those make meditation is to change your thoughts, which become things.
Right.
So I've loved having you today. I think my fans and my guests are going to love hearing your story. I feel so rejuvenated to go on my hero's journey. Where can people find you, and where can they buy your book?
Yes, they can buy the book at any book resellers on Amazon. I am at www.JScottMacMillan.com. And if you go there, or you can go to www.takehj.com, which is takeheroesjourney.com. I have a little PDF that helps people find their purpose, and they can go through some exercises. So they can find that on my website, or just go to takehj.com, and they'll find a little exercise there for them.
Amazing. I'm going to link all of that below on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'd love to have you back on the show one day, and
Great.
see you all next time. Bye.